conference attendees. So welcome to day 2 of the NICEC conference on sustainability in careers. I hope everyone had it, well, those that were here for yesterday, I hope you had a good first day and an evening. And I hope that those of you who are coming for the first day will be able to pick up the threads. So we had a really, really good day yesterday, a lot of content. And I thought Ans de Vos, the way she finished it was excellent, because this metaphor of the kind of wave pattern of us having different aspects of our life, our health, our productivity, and our happiness sort of intertwined and going up and down at different points in this, I think was a really good image for how our careers work and how we can manage that. I think what we're going to try and do today, in a sense, is introduce a new line onto that wave pattern, which is the line of environmental sustainability. And we're going to think a bit about where does that fit in to these career patterns that people are having as they're going across their life. So we've got a fantastic panel for you today. I'll introduce them one at a time as we go through. But just before that, I've got an announcement, which is that we will be taking, so Russell at the back will be taking some photos today. So if you don't want to be in photos, just let him know and we'll make sure you don't appear in any publicity from it. But otherwise, you may find yourself happily chatting with someone on the NICEC website or something like that. So great. So the idea of the panel this morning is to look at diverse perspectives on these issues of sustainability in careers. And so, we'll start in a second with Miriam from VIA University in Denmark, who will be kind of giving us a kind of research and practice perspective on how might we respond to this as career guidance professionals. And so that's where we're going to start. And then we're going to move on to David from the World Wildlife Fund, who's going to be talking a bit about why would a big environmentally focused NGO want to get involved in careers as an issue, when that's perhaps not where we've historically associated their activities. And so that's coming at it from a very different, so from the profession and then from the NGO campaigning side. And then Natalie Ward-Smith from Bupa will talk about the employer perspective and why does it make sense for employers to think about these things and actually to build it into the career development structures within their organizations. So I think this is going to be a really interesting look, because we're going to look at the same issue from different directions. The hope is that so each of the speakers is going to speak for around about 10 minutes. We're then going to have hopefully about half an hour, 45 minutes to discuss and debate as a panel discussion. And so we'll be throwing the questions out to you. So if you've got questions to raise for the panel, we'll be asking you to contribute. But without further ado, I will hand over to Miriam to take us off and tell us about how careers can save the planet.
Yes, I'll tell you about that. And it will only take 10 minutes. I got this mic. It's not because I want to move around a lot. It's because you probably can't see me if I stand here. So I'm Miriam Dimsits, and I come from VIA University College in Aarhus. And I just put in some pictures here of my city, but maybe not, big city bright lights, but the place where I go to find resonance. So I really love that concept was introduced yesterday of Hartmut Rosa. And I go here every day, and I also go for a swim. I walk down through the forest, and then also in winter time, but very short swim. And I live very close by. I would love to say that was my house there, but it's on the other side of the forest. Yeah. So I'm an associate professor at VIA, so that means I work with education. I work at our career guidance professions program. So I teach, I train the trainer. So that's also my perspective here in the plenary session, that I work with, making good education for career guidance practitioners. And I'm very much preoccupied with sustainability and career guidance and connecting these things. And I think a lot of practitioners in Denmark, they are onto the idea. They're like, yes, we think this sounds like really important, and we really want to do something about it. So what should we do? So that has been my perspective all along, that I wanted to develop like good practice ideas and activities, and how to design activities for the practitioners. And we have in our program, we have made an elective module called Career Guidance and Sustainability. It has run once, and we hope will run again this fall if we get enough students. And recently, I've, together with this gentleman, with Tristram, I've worked on designing a framework for theory and practice on what we call environmentally sustainable career guidance. I'll say a little bit about it, and we'll elaborate it further in our workshop, but just to touch a bit upon it. So if environmentally sustainable career guidance is, the answer, what is, the question, what is the problem? And the problem is here. You can see 6 out of 9 planetary boundaries have been exceeded. And I don't know if you're familiar with this graphic, but I think it's important that all career guidance practitioners familiarize themselves with this graphic, because this is the situation we're in. And the planetary boundary has to do with like a realm of resources that are important for life on planet, like all things living. So when you're in the green area, you're in the area where the natural resource can sustain itself, and that's what sustainability means. It comes from the biological science that an ecosystem can sustain itself. So whenever you move into the yellow and the red area, then you are, exceeding your bank account. You are destroying the planet. And we sometimes think of destroying the planet that's it's not right here. We're destroying the planet away from here, but we're actually destroying our own living conditions, because we're not just destroying nature, we're destroying ourselves, because we are also nature, and we tend to forget that we are nature. So when you look into this graphic, it's like it really calls for urgent action and change of how we produce, what we produce, how we consume, and it means a radical change for the labor market. How we work, what we work with, what we produce, how we nudge people to consume. So this is a big task for career guidance. Whenever there's a big change in the labor market coming, this is a task that career guidance practitioners will throw themselves into. And it's important that we do it, because when we commit ourselves to societal tasks, we are also more aware of social justice, because we know this, we have experience in this area, that when big societal changes are happening, it doesn't necessarily profit the people who are most marginalized, low skilled. So we need to, for this purpose, for social justice purposes, we need to engage in this, so we also secure good possibilities and good opportunities. So with privilege comes big responsibility. So we have a responsibility for everyone here. Yeah. So to yesterday, Hartmut Rosa's point about resonance was introduced. So thank you very much for that, Kathy. And I think that the planetary boundaries and the human well-being boundaries have been exceeded are probably 2 sides of the same coin. So, and I think I have Hartmut Rosa, it's my microphone. I have Hartmut Rosa backing me for this, maybe not directly, but like the increasing distress among the young population, and also is it my phone doing it? My microphone. I try to stand more still. Increasing distress among young population, but also in the adult population, is a symptom of accelerated society. And accelerated society is what has led to exceeded planetary boundaries. So we're dealing with two sides of the same coin. So we need to radically change how we live, learn, and work in order to secure planetary well-being, human well-being. So this calls for a holistic career guidance practice that entails different dimensions. And this is some of the work that Tristram and I have been working on. Is it me doing this? I'll stand very still now. Okay. It entails an effective dimension that helps to reestablish the client's resonance with nature and other relationships. It entails this is just to keep you on your toes. Yeah. So this isn't working. There it is. Social ecological dimension, which is a dimension that helps build client solidarity with people and nature. It entails an educational dimension that helps clients to learn about the connection between careers, nature, and the world. It entails a transformational dimension that helps to stimulate client imagination and invention of a future worth hoping for. And also very important, it entails a political ideological dimension where we engage clients in critical thinking about what career choices to make to lead a meaningful life also contributing to sustainability. And this, of course, entails many different kinds of discussions, for instance, seeking out calling, but also challenging calling, demasking greenwashing, but also demanding decent jobs. So many of these political, ideological discussions that we can have is an important part of this practice. So we put these dimensions into this framework, and I'm not gonna dwell a long time on this because Tristram has the time whip. We made this framework, and what is very clear in the literature, we based this framework on different kinds of literature written on this stuff, is that there's a precondition to performing this practice. You probably need to prepare for this practice as a career guidance practitioner. So this is also an important point that we might need to train for this. Career guidance practitioners can understand and also communicate environmental issues and also deal with these difficult issues on, the ethical practice in this and be reflexive about norms and ideology and stuff like that. So we took these dimensions I mentioned before and put them into learning areas. So these are aims for career guidance practice. So connect career, build solidarity, learn about careers, imagine and invent, change the world through a career. Are learning areas that the career guidance practitioner can build into his or her practice and use these in their design of their activities, both in content and form. And you can use many different pedagogies, but it seems like those approaches informed by critical theories are quite appropriate for this kind of practice because it has the transformational dimension to it. And you can work with this in collectives, groups, but also, of course, individual sessions. So just to finish off, I think careers can save the planet. I think we can all do something 8 hours a day. I don't know how long your working day is. But here, when we have the SDGs here, they actually show us very clearly what the tasks are, the societal tasks that need to be done. So when we look at these, we can also see which professionals do we need to solve these different tasks, or maybe we can't see exactly which professionals can solve these tasks, but we can use the SDGs for exploring which job functions can actually contribute into these tasks. So, thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. So I'm David Blackmore. I'm Head of Sustainable Careers at WWF UK. Just a little bit of a flavour of my background. A good chunk of my career, I was a teacher at a sixth form college, and then I went on to lead programme teams at education charities and career education charities as well. So WWF UK, we're the charity behind the panda logo, which you might recognise. You might associate us with saving tigers, elephants, and other endangered wildlife. But actually, a lot of our work is around people and places as well. So we work with people to fix climate change and to stop nature loss as well. So I lead our education work around careers and working with young people to support them to learn about and gain access to sustainable career opportunities. And we have a flagship careers program called Sustainable Futures. So I'm just going to play a little short video and then I'm going to talk a little bit about it after.
I actually learned a lot that was really helpful for my future career path.
It's important that young people learn about sustainability and how it can affect all careers, because ultimately all careers will involve sustainability.
Our priority is ensuring that our students are ready for the labour market and ready to make informed choices, so Sustainable Futures really slots in well to that ethos. The course is split into 3 key modules. What I enjoyed most about the Sustainable Futures course was that it informed you about core values that you need to have and things that you usually wouldn't be able to pick up by yourself.
We've been able to engage with industry experts, we've been able to provide our students with not just insights, but real-life opportunities for them to be able to present, to challenge the question, come up with ideas, pitch those ideas and evaluate it. And these are things that in normal curriculum are hard to get in and hard to get the experts in to deliver. Not just providing them with the knowledge and also the expertise, but also providing them with the skills and the experience that normally wouldn't get.
You are going to design a sustainable space, a sustainable office.
I was surprised by how useful the information was, because mainly I didn't expect it to be relevant to me, but it's able to give you insight on what I can do.
As they come into the workforce and start to target jobs and careers for themselves, the more they know about sustainability, the more they know about the trends of the wider world and how they can impact it, the more employable they will be.
The programme activities can help meet gaps in benchmarks of good career guidance. The learning areas of CDI's career development framework, and also the programme study, the PSHE's learning opportunities.
I think it's incredibly important for students to learn about sustainability within their careers and also within the wider national curriculum. Not only just because it's absolutely a pivotal time right now for this issue, but also because it's their generation that's affected by it.
I would definitely recommend this course for everyone because I was able to figure out how you can use sustainability in any career that you have.
So hopefully that's a decent overview, but as Tristram said at the beginning, you probably, or WWF UK haven't been in the space of careers education before. But hopefully in the discussion, there'll be a lot of points that come out of why we created our programs or interventions. But basically one key thing is we wanted to prepare young people for the future labour market, and there was an urgent need for that. And also we'll talk a lot about it, but tackling the climate and nature crises is going to take a really skilled and diverse workforce where every job can play its part. And that really is the key message with our programme. Every career can and must be sustainable. So the program is free. It's available for secondary schools and colleges across the UK. And the aim is to equip students with the knowledge, skills, and experiences for them to thrive in the future green economy, no matter what career path they choose. So you can see some of the reach that we've had. So there's 3 main student program activities. So the first one is a student course where they learn what is sustainability, first of all, how is it applied within business, what are different economic models which are more sustainable, and then they start to think about their values and how they can bring sustainability into certain decision points within their education or career journey. So we've got the student course that over 3,000 students have accessed. Then it's hearing from someone who has a sustainable career, which is really valuable, so they can apply that theory to something a little bit more practical. And we've had a good reach of nearly 5,000 students access that. And then finally, all of the stuff that they've learned, how can they actually apply that and work on a sustainability project relevant to a business and work with business volunteers to get coached and get that experience that they can put on their CV that's going to strengthen their career prospect. And we've had over 250 access experiences of the workplace. So sustainability is threaded throughout everything. And then also in the bottom right, we have CPD training available for teachers and careers leaders and other career professionals, where it's talking about sustainability and its role within careers as well. And the main aim of our program is we want sustainability to be embedded within careers guidance and different curricula and different frameworks within careers guidance. And the program is available to all schools and colleges and all of their students. However, the program does have a focus on engaging and supporting young people from less advantaged backgrounds and diverse communities. And that's because those 2 groups, unfortunately, are underrepresented in the environment sector and sustainability in general. So 162 students from underrepresented groups took part in all 3 program activities through something that we called an enhanced program. So the International Centre for Guidance Studies at the University of Derby are currently undertaking a program evaluation. So the program partners, which is WWF, Villiers Park and Founders for Schools, we can understand what impacts the program is having and start to look at the next phase of the program and how we can embed the positives from the program into our core offering and trying to reach even more schools and colleges and students as well. So they've started the evaluation, and we've got some initial data based on that enhanced program I mentioned, where the students went through all 3 activities, because we do have some schools that will just do the course and that's it, or some that will just do the business encounter, but we did analysis. This data is on that have done all 3 activities. So you can see, if we start at knowledge, which is at the bottom, probably doesn't make as much sense, but with the knowledge that they've, an increase in knowledge that they've gained from the program, 92% reported an increase in their knowledge of sustainability. 94% understood the role of business in building a sustainable future. And again, thinking about their careers, how they can actively be part of that and make decisions and drive decisions for a more sustainable future and world. And then how did that change some attitudes? So 86% of the students that took part were excited to work in sustainability. So that was up from 53% before the program. And 80% thought it would be easy to get a job in sustainability. Again, sort of that's 43% before. So that was really them trying to understand the pathways and what does a sustainable career actually mean? And then finally, did it sort of influence their behavior? So 71% thought they did something to make a difference to the environment, and the same 71% influenced a family member or friend to be doing good. And there was actually one on influencing a politician or a local business that had increased as well. So it's really positive to see some of those changes through going through all of the program activities. And I won't read all of them, but it's not just numbers and statistics, actually hearing from students, the impact it had. So I'll leave this for a second for you to have a read. My all-time favorite is this quote on the right, which is in green. I'll read it out. Not going to lie, before this, I had no interest, or not being rude, even hated sustainability. It had nothing to do with me. The last 3 sessions have been so fun and engaging, and I've learned so much. And that really sums up what it's about. The program is for people who are maybe more environmentally switched on, but also equally for people who have never thought sustainability applies to them. And that quote really sums it up. And that's what we want to try and achieve, mainstreaming sustainable careers, making sure that everyone knows that they can be part of it, because we'll need everyone to transition to a green economy. And then finally, just touching on the impact it's had on teachers and career leaders. So I said we had CPD training, and there's lots of increases, which is great. But I just wanted to focus on the ones more related to careers. So they reported an increase in confidence on the following topics. So supporting students into roles linked to sustainability, sort of a large increase there. The careers and educational pathways on sustainability, they're so broad, it's just to build that foundational knowledge. And then finally, the sort of biggest jump from 29% to 90% felt confident on green careers information and its impact on the labour market. So that's just a little overview of the programme and what we're trying to do at WWF UK. But I look forward to the discussion and talking a bit more of the reasons behind it and what we hope to achieve.
Hi everyone, I'm Nat Ward-Smith and I'm from Bupa. I'm the Global Careers Lead at Bupa, and just to give you a little bit of context around Bupa, for those who aren't familiar, we are a private healthcare company. We were established and founded in the UK in 1947, and today we are a global business with 84,000 colleagues around the world. So we are quite a complex business as well. We offer care services for our aged care population, dental practices, hospitals, clinical, and then we have our funding business, which is around insurance. So we are quite a diverse business, to be fair. And how we arrange ourselves as well is slightly different. So we arrange ourselves by market units. We have our APAC business, which is Asia Pacific. And then we have our ELA business, which is Europe and Latin America. And then finally, we have our UK business, which is also coupled with Bupa Global and India. So we are quite complex in our structure as well. But what brings us all together is the wrapper around that is group. And that's where I sit. So I sit in the people team. And as I said, I look after global careers. So what does that mean in reality? I look after our global job architecture, so the job frameworks that glue us together as an organisation, our talent programmes. So I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about one of our global talent programmes called Eco Disruptive, and then the other part is Careers for All at Bupa. So without further ado, I'm going to just play you a really short video to introduce our Eco Disruptive programme, and you'll hear from our CEO. Is that right? Right on point?
My definition of eco-disruptive. So first of all, is a dynamic program because it's going to be executed by 150, roughly speaking, high potential individuals of Bupa. So it's the people that will be running this company in some years' time. So we want to see them, we want to know who they are. It's a talent program, but that touches three pillars. One is the transformation pillar, because it operates on the disruptive space, which is, let's say, the most radical space of the transformation. The second pillar that touches the sustainability pillar, because we want to hear from eco startups. And the third pillar that touches clearly is the agile working. It's a very inclusive program because it's great how we involve everybody. So in the transformation journey of Bupa, we want to have everybody. So we believe that it's a journey basically like a big train, and everybody's jumping on the train and we go.
The 6 areas are designed to have both an environmental impact and some health outcomes impacts are climate change and CO2 reduction, sustainable transport and clean air, the circular economy, recycling and responsible consumption, biodiversity, the fourth, healthy cities and citizens, education and behaviour change, you're going to be out of your comfort zone because this is new territory. The type of people that you'll interact with are different. You know, there's a diversity in the if you like ecosystem, the business ecosystem we're entering. The type of people will be different, and that will help us to learn. And the thing is, just don't be afraid of it. Embrace it and get out of your comfort zone. I want you to become environmental activists. We want, as Bupa, to build a movement. We will be an environmentally active organisation, not just a very responsible corporation.
So hopefully that introduction gives you a little bit of a flavour of what eco-disrupt is all about. And it absolutely is built around, it was born from our sustainability pillar within our strategy. And, you know, the focus for us as a company, and especially being a healthcare company, when we recognise that healthcare as an industry, if you were to manage it all together, we would be the 5th largest country in the world to create pollution. There is something really radical within our business that our CEO and our Chief People Officer are incredibly passionate about, is being disruptors within the market, finding innovation, trying to do things differently. And rather than putting that down onto an innovation team or, you know, marketing team to go out and find that, we created the Eco-Disruptive Programme. And people are actively, you know, encouraged to be disruptive, to try things different, to go and find a startup. And that's the beauty of this programme, is there are no guardrails. So we run the programme on an annual basis. It runs for around 9 months. We bring together around 150 to 200 people. And again, they're split between those 3 market units that I touched on before. And they have to go out and find a startup that has innovative technology or ideas or a solution for the challenge area that they've been given. So it is absolutely fascinating in the respect of trying to find out, you know, what are the challenges for our business, but then B, really sort of trying to find out who's out there, what startups are there, what are they creating, what's new today that didn't exist yesterday, or, you know, what they're looking for in the future. And ultimately, when we look at the Eco-Disruptive programme, there are 3 phases within there. And the first one is Scout and Select. So that is exactly as what I've just described. Go out and find someone. The next one is building a minimal viable product. And by doing this, it depends on the innovation that they bring in. And the final one is Pitch Fest. And what that means for the individual is, actually, as part of the first part of the programme, they get to meet people from around the business that they probably would have never interacted with before. So that when we talk about, and I think Chris touched on it yesterday around, you know, the sustainability of someone's career. Actually, they're getting to know other parts of the business, but then they also start to find out other challenges within our business and what is it that causes the biggest headaches. And right going through to meeting a startup. And for anyone who's ever worked with a startup, I loved this programme so much, I became a participant in 2022. We didn't win, Australia did. Very disappointed, must say, but talk about that over coffee. But the opportunity to as well to go into Pitch Fest, so meet people and pitch to the CEO of your market unit with a senior executive team, is just, you know, off the scale for some people within Bupa. So the experience of doing this, but also recognising that sustainability is the heart of everything we do, is just gold dust. And we are in our 4th year this year, so we have just kicked off. We are due to start to see who's going to come through. So I'm super excited to see what this year brings. Thank you.
Hello, great, thank you. I think it's really interesting to hear about this from these 3 very different perspectives. So we're going to try and pull these together a bit. I'm going to ask a couple of questions to get us going, and then we'll throw it open to the audience. We've perhaps got a couple more that I've got prepared to pick up later. So if we'll start down here, I suppose, what is it that motivated your organisation to think this is the thing to do, rather than, you know, all the other things that you could have done?
Thanks. Yeah, as everybody has sort of mentioned, we're in a nature and climate crises, and we identified careers as a way, as an avenue to drive forward greater change that's needed within business and government and that system level. So really, equipping young people who are going into the labour market and will really be sort of driving forward that change because they have sustainability high on the agenda. So just looking at like individual versus business level, choose a diet that has like a lower carbon footprint, that's fantastic, and that is making change. But imagine if that person goes into a career or a company and drives that change at a business level. So if they have lots of premises, all of them changing to renewable energy, if they're in charge of what is served in the canteen, can they all be a diet or food that's lower carbon footprint? Or if you're an independent cafe, can you offer that sort of produce? So really trying to do it at that larger impact level, because we're meant to be in the sort of decade of change when it comes to climate change and nature loss, and we're sort of lagging. So we need to speed up the change and have it at a business level. That's one reason. The second one, and hopefully you got that from my sort of career journey, is about young people. A big focus of our work, obviously in our education team, is young people. And young people are scared about the future of our planet. And we want to try and change that eco-anxiety into agency and action. So actually a survey from Bupa of Gen Zs found that 2/3 feel anxious about environmental issues, and a similar amount feel like the burden's on their shoulders to make the change, which is quite unfair because it's stuff they've inherited. And also young people want businesses to do more. So Deloitte have a millennial and Gen Z survey, and only 18% of the Gen Zs felt like their employers were doing enough to fight climate change. So they're starting to hold businesses accountable for not doing enough. And actually 1/3 of those Gen Zs rejected a job offer based on the environmental, social and governance record of the people that offered them jobs. So they're really, they're worried, they want businesses to do more, and they're willing to start, bringing their career decisions into trying to fight the climate and nature crises. And one final thing is we are in a green skills crisis. I don't know if you've seen the Generation Green Jobs report by Public First and the Prince's Trust, but only 27% of the young people they surveyed knew what a green career was and could explain what it meant, and only 31% for net zero. So there's a real gap of young people not knowing these drastic, rapid changes that are going to happen in the labour market. So it's really trying to bring together educators, employers and governments to make sure that young people are able to thrive in a future labour market. So that's what we're trying to support through the Sustainable Futures Programme.
Brilliant, thank you. Miriam, what is it that's driven you to get involved in this, and why do you think the careers world should be more involved?
Yeah, I think I switched my mic on, so I can use this one. You can hear me? All right. I'd say it's pretty much all the things you mentioned there, David. Like that's really what drives me. But I also speak in the perspective of the career guidance profession, and you can say in the career guidance profession, I think it's like taking part of an enlightenment project. It's like if we know that these things are going on, if we know this, we also have we also this is our ethical practice. We should not withhold this information. We should share it with our clients. So we have to help clients see eye to eye with reality and help them develop their own stances. So I think it's at the core in the career guidance profession, in the ethical practice, that we don't withhold information, but we share this information and help people to find opportunities. Like we shouldn't burden the individual, each individual, with you also have to solve this crisis, and also you as a young person with climate anxiety. Okay, so you go out and it's your responsibility, but we should show the opportunities. So I think that's very much what drives me, like on behalf of the profession. I think we have a really important task here. Like it's in the DNA of the profession, I think, that we always throw ourselves into these societal tasks. So now we have like an overarching societal task. It's like, it's probably a little bit bigger than the ones we have faced before, but that's what really should drive us to do something, to act upon this. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And Natalie, we were talking yesterday when in the first session about some of the challenges for businesses in engaging with this and how it's often perceived as a kind of burden rather than as an opportunity. So what is it that overcame that for your organisation?
Thanks. I think one of the biggest parts for us was, how do we truly engage people with, and when you've got a big diverse workforce, how do you get everyone to really start to understand the problems and challenges that we face as a healthcare organisation, and how do we as an organisation start to change society and change the way that we do things and operate. And I think that was the biggest part, was we wanted people to come in to really fall in love with the problem, to really understand the challenge and experience it for themselves. Don't just read a no, or there's a document that's gone round that we need you to think about and add into. We want you to actually come and have an immersive experience and really understand the challenges, not only for our business, but for our customers and for our partners, and also really get closer to the environmental challenges. So that was the biggest part for us.
Okay, I'm going to move on actually and ask about challenges next, because I think it's, there's a lot of possibilities been discussed. So what is difficult? So if I start with Miriam, what do you think are the difficulties for the career? You've told us why they should do it. What's difficult for it?
I think a big barrier probably lies within the profession. I'm not going to be very popular from saying this, perhaps, but I think we might have some notions about this practice being like very political or very activistic, and something you shouldn't burden people with. I think that might be one barrier. And then another barrier is, I think we as a profession probably don't have enough knowledge ourselves. I think it's very important for practitioners to have their own career education about this subject. When was the last time that you went to see a conventional farmer or a meat cut factory, or you went to visit someone at the textile industry or a waste station? Like going out and seeing different workplaces and different sectors will actually give you very good ideas of the problem, but also it will create many ideas for you, because we're a very creative profession. It would probably create more ideas for us. Where are the opportunities and how should we inspire people? But I think we should probably do our own bit of career education ourselves. And I think that has really made a big impact on me. Last time I was at a waste station. I go there all the time, but I was at a waste station in connection to all this sustainability. And it really made me think a lot about, like, I was seeing all the waste going by on a conveyor belt, and I felt like it was my life passing because that was what I had for breakfast, and that was how I brushed my teeth this morning. And I take these things out to the trash can or the garbage bin, and then I think, now they're gone. But they're not gone. They're still here. They're out of the waste station, and there are people there working. So what are the jobs? How are we sorting the waste, and what are the opportunities in just reducing, recycling, upcycling, and stuff like that? So I think just an example of a barrier is, I think we should start making our own career education into this subject. Yeah.
Thank you. Natalie, what about for you in terms of barriers that you face?
Do you know, I just to build on what Miriam's just said, you talk about what you actually see. I think one of the barriers, certainly for me, when I was a participant on the Eco-Disruptive programme, was I didn't realise how many things or actions damage our planet that we can't see. So, for example, the startup that we connected with is a company called Sage Tech Medical, and they're based in the UK, and I had no idea. It was a complete and utter emperor's new clothes moment for me. So when we very first connected with them and started talking, what's your idea, what's your innovation? And they started to talk to us about anaesthetics within the hospital setting. And a patient, and then forgive me if you already know this, I certainly didn't. A patient takes in 5% of that anaesthetic gas, and the other 95% is pumped up the hospital chimney and goes out into the ether and damages the planet for up to 23 years. I was like, wow, how can that be real? And so to meet a startup that have created technology that not only capture that waste gas, so it doesn't go up the chimney and it doesn't damage the planet for 23 years. They actually recycle it and turn it back into virgin material was so powerful. And when we talk about barriers, I think there is a perception for us about what we see and hear rather than actually what else is out there, all the hidden barriers that I certainly knew nothing about. So I think as an organisation, one of the beauties of our programme is it brings so much to life that where we've got hidden barriers that we didn't even know about.
So we've got this we understand the environmental damage on an abstract level, but we can't quite believe it on a real level because it's almost seems invisible. What about from the point of view of an NGO? What's difficult about doing this kind of work for you?
Yeah, so I can reflect on the experience we've had through our careers program. So just to build on both of your points, with career professionals, I think confidence in the topic, and there's so many different areas of careers to learn about, but this really is a massive topic that isn't going away and is really important for young people and the future labour market. So you saw some of the statistics with our CPD of the confidence levels of like 24% pre and 90% after. Coming to conferences like this, trying to engage in the topic is really important. Another thing is definition. A lot of people, from young people, businesses, and even people in government, there's so much different terminology out there and definitions. It's really trying to understand. We follow at WWF the United Nations SDGs, and is a career contributing towards one of those, and we class that as a sustainable career. Another one is mainstreaming it. So mainstreaming sustainability within careers. If you say to someone, what is a sustainable career? They might think a wind turbine engineer. That is a sustainable career, but if you work in finance, you can also have a sustainable career. And a lot of young people will switch off when you start talking about green careers and sustainable careers because they don't think it applies to them. So it's really trying to mainstream it through examples of role models, relative role models who are bringing sustainability into their workplace. And talking about relative role models, it's bringing everybody on this journey. The environment sector is the second or third least diverse sector when it comes to ethnic diversity. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done within EDI and bringing that through program principles as well. And then final thing is engaging your stakeholders. So if you work with students or work with other sort of academics, any work you're doing or any programs you're setting up, are you engaging those stakeholders early on? Because some challenges we found, if you're not engaging them early, it's not going to be fit for purpose. And you need to, we set up things such as advisory groups, which a couple of members are here today, and also youth advisory groups. So who are your main beneficiaries? How are they involved in the design of any of the work you're doing, any of the research you're doing as well? So those are some of the sort of challenges that we face and a couple of little things that we've tried to do to overcome them, but there's still a long way to go.
That's great. So we've got this importance of trying to make the invisible visible to people and move beyond just kind of wind turbines to something a bit broader as a conception of sustainability. I wonder whether there's any points that anyone in the audience would like to make. Okay, we've got a few. So what I'll do is if I take 3 points and then give the panel a chance to reflect back on them. So.
Thank you for that, everybody. That was really interesting. I'm Vicky Metcalf. I'm a PhD researcher from Huddersfield. First of all, excuse me, super quick fan moment. I've used WWF, We're All Connected campaign on careers workshops for ad and marketing majors at uni for a long time. And it's really powerful. It works wonders. And I suppose the point/question that I wanted to ask David particularly is, how do we make space for this? We all know the kind of pressures that schools and teachers are under. And the reality is that this is, it sounds really flippant, but this is more important than Shakespeare and Pythagoras. So why is this not fundamental to our education system? Sorry, that was a question more than a point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll take Claire and then Eva, and then we'll hear back from the panel.
For David as well, the issue of stakeholders and parents particularly, you identified that quite challenging quote from the sceptical young person, and I was imagining the home setting and how you can extend the reach with a program like that to get out to families and broader communities as well. And that maybe links a bit to the Bupa project, because you talked about the excitement of people going home and talking to their families about the projects that they were engaged in.
Very good. And Eva.
Thank you. I had a similar question to David, and I was wondering, how can you manage to embed this, what you're teaching, to be part of the normal curricula? What are the obstacles? We've heard that it's lack of time. There's a lot of issues that teachers have to cover. And what kind of schools do you enter your program? Because from my experience, we're able to reach those who are already convinced, and those who need it badly, they never ever enter our programs. So this is just enlarging the gap between those who are doing the work properly and those who don't. So how would you support or encourage schools to pick up your program?
So I think there's two really big questions that come out of those points. One is, how do we make space for this? And we've all got busy kind of worlds that we inhabit. And the other is, I guess, how do we get out beyond the usual suspects to people who already agree, or the people who are kind of typical participants in these kinds of programs? So David, we'll start with you.
Yeah, thank you. So I think it's Vicky and Eva who asked those questions. So yeah, and that was actually another barrier or challenge we'd faced, but I felt like I was talking too long in the previous question, so I didn't raise it. So that's brilliant timing. I didn't pay her £5 to ask me that question. But yeah, with the curriculum, it's extremely busy. Schools aren't just schools anymore. They're counsellors, making sure young people are getting food. There's so many different things. So if I'm being honest, it's what we're trying to do is try and make it easy for schools and colleges to engage. One way is when you present something to a school or college, they like to just know how another school or college has delivered it. So we only launched this program 20 months ago, but we're starting through our valuation to learn different ways that schools are using it and colleges. So some are using it as part of the PSHE or citizenship curriculum. So again, that's quite like an easy example to share. Some are using it as extracurricular, but that tends to be, to your point, Ibra, a bit more of the people who are already converted. Ultimately, what we want is, and hopefully in the next sort of 5 years, that'll be coming, like a national curriculum review and talking about climate change and sustainability education being a core part of that across, like careers is, across all subjects, across the curriculum. So we do have some mapping documents where it says how it covers, elements of PSHE, elements of science, geography, but it's really trying to make it as easy for schools and colleges to engage and empathize with all of the stress and challenges that they're under. We haven't cracked that nut at all. We're learning, and with the evaluation that we're doing, we want to share these learnings so other people can see our experience as program partners. And then and I think it was Claire who asked the question about, we know that if you just put this out there, the schools and colleges that are likely to pick it up and the students are the ones who are very environmentally focused. So that's why we did additional support and engage those schools that would not likely engage in the program unless there was something that contributed to their priorities or helped ease some of the pressures that they're under. And the point about parents, we had a big discussion when we were coming up with the theory of change for this program. We didn't want to try and do too much early on, but it's parents and carers are key stakeholders. They have such a big influence on their children's future careers. So I think it is really important to bring them in. They are a key stakeholder that need to learn about this topic and support their children when they're making those decisions. So yeah, we haven't had a great focus on it in our program, but again, through the learnings, that's definitely something that we would recommend for other future programs going forward.
Great, thank you, Miriam. How are you going to fit it in and reach out to new people?
Yeah, the first thing I'd say is that sustainability is written into the curriculum in primary school and in high school. And we have ESD schools, certification in Denmark, like schools, they sign up to be like ESD school. And then when you go out and interview these schools, they're like, are we?
But ESD is Education for Sustainable Development.
Exactly, Education for Sustainable Development, so sustainability is written into the curriculum. But as your point there, Vicky, is that teachers, they feel like, well, I should also, there are many things that are written into the curriculum that I have to reach. So I don't think we have, found like the golden key to this, but we are working with developing sustainability into career education, both in primary school and in high schools as well. And actually, I really love, so it's also a little advertising, I really love to do a PhD, and my PhD proposal is in fact about developing career education and sustainability in primary school, because there's a really good linkage there. And then it could be like the responsibility of the career guidance professional who collaborates with the teacher who can work as a leverage for that to happen, because the teacher knows about their courses and what they're teaching in, but they don't know that much about career education. But the collaboration between the career guidance practitioner and the teacher would work really well. So also adapting it into the different courses. We have some examples of that, and it really works very well. So, but still, we haven't figured it out yet, but there might be a lot of good potentials there. And not to see it as an add-on, but to integrate it into what we're actually teaching. Like whenever we're teaching we usually use the examples of STEM, but it could also be you're teaching English, you're teaching whatever, and you can connect this thing to different sustainability issues. But again, you need to have some notion about how to do this. So training education is important here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Natalie, in terms of the program you've described, I suppose one thing I haven't quite got is like, how central is it to the business, and how have you found as much space for it as you have, and would you really like it to have like a bigger footprint into the business, I suppose? So
would love a bigger footprint, definitely. So how we arrange ourselves for the actual program is you have to apply. So if you want to be part of the Eco Disruptive program, and as I said before, it's open to everyone. So regardless of grade, location, what you actually do for Bupa, it is inclusive of everyone, so anyone can apply for this programme. What we do say as part of the application is that you need to be able to give up 1 to 2 days per week over the 9-month period. Now, that will come in peaks and troughs. We have done lots and lots and lots of education with managers and leaders across our organisation to say, we really need you to support someone and give them the space to be able to go and do this. You know, it's an expectation, and I think the beauty of it for us is that you saw on the video, we've got, you know, our group CEO and our Chief Sustainability Officer that are all over this and massively, massively supportive. So it does create the space. We would love more people in the squads, if I'm being completely honest. So we typically have 6 squads per market unit, and they consist of anything between 6 and 10 people within that squad. And creating the space for them, what you recognise as part of the programme is you don't all have to be in that conversation at the same time. So it's about learning to work with each other and supporting each other as and when. What we have found is that we've had tougher challenges for people that are customer facing. So clinicians, for example, you know, if they've got a clinic all day and they're seeing people face to face, that becomes a real challenge. What we see in that space as well is people feeling like they're not giving everything to the programme. And that's why we have a support team behind the scenes to ensure that, you know, we're coaching them to say your input is still really important, and we help manage, you know, their time with their clinicians, so that they tend to have like a full day. There might not be meetings on that day, but there's lots of, believe me, there's lots of other things that they can be doing within that day. But again, that's a real personal journey for someone, and creating the space is really important for us. But yeah, we'd love more people on the programme. How we'd manage that, I'm not quite sure.
Great, thank you. Any more comments from the audience? Glenn, we'll take 3 again and hopefully have another round of the panel.
Good morning. Thanks for the session. I'm Laura Schedule. I work at Imperial College Business School as the Sustainability Careers Consultant. Topic really passionate to me. We have a kind of a captive audience here of people who work with students, many of them every day. And I wonder, what is your call to action for this audience who can go and, you know, have these conversations with young people and perhaps people already in the workforce? Because as much as, you know, I admire the WWF programme, there's such an urgency to this issue. So what can we all be going out and doing when we return to our desks? Thanks.
Hi, thank you. This is also for David, I think. I work in a school and I do get lots of students asking me about sustainable careers. But if I'm honest, a lot of the students I work with are quite privileged. And you have said that it's not a particularly diverse profession. We've talked a lot about how we alter things and bring people in, but I'm just wondering, what is it that means it's not diverse? What are the barriers that are keeping other groups out at the moment?
Thank you.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Martin Edmondson from Gradcore. I was just wondering what, particularly Nat's programme, but also all of you really, what are the definitions of success for these various things that you do? So do you view, particularly I guess with eco-destructive, through a kind of a talent lens, because it sort of says it's a talent programme in terms of progression, retention, that kind of stuff, that's the success? Or is the success through a kind of sustainability, environmental lens in terms of impact in that area? Like, what are the markers of knowing things have succeeded?
Yes, good. All right. Well, no, I will. No, actually, let's do that. We'll take 2 more points, and then we'll probably one more run round the panel. There's lots to pick up, but yeah.
Thank you. I want to be a bit of this is trying to be devil's advocate, because I think I've got my own answer to this, but I want to put the discussion out there. As a practitioner, I had codes of practice and an ethic of impartiality drummed into me. We also work in higher education in a politicized environment where freedom of speech is scrutinized, and there are people who deny the importance of this issue. And I'm wondering how we square that as practitioners.
Hi, I'm Fiona Christie. I'm Senior Lecturer at Manchester Met University. I've got a question about how we measure this as well. So it's interesting. I mean, I just did a quick Google, and I think Nesta has got a "How green is your job?" quiz. People like that sort of stuff. I'm interested to know your view on whether sort of tools like that could be useful to people. Also, in relation to higher education, we know that job success is measured by salary level and status of role, but we don't have a measure about the sustainability of certain careers. So, you know, for example, you might be a well-paid engineer in a fossil fuels company, which would be considered successful, but obviously would be low on the score measure of sustainability. So, yes, so a couple of things really in terms of measures and the role of those.
Okay, so I think the point about measures and the point about sort of how do you measure the impact go together. And then I think the points about diversity, how do we actually increase the diversity of this, and then also managing the political issues are tricky. And we're going to hold your question to the end, because I think that's probably a good one to finish on. So yeah, I don't know whether any of you have got any thoughts on, let's start with the impact question actually. Has anybody got any thoughts about how are you measuring impact? What's a good outcome? How do we decide what's a green enough job and these kinds of issues? I'd like to get
So there's a number of measures for us really. The first part is the startup. So whether a startup is successful or not, if we've chosen to work with someone as a part of this eco-disruptive journey, we have local sustainability teams within the market units that we pass over and they support them going forward. Because what we are super conscious about is that you go through this 9 months of, real world wind, and then you're not successful, you haven't won, therefore you drop off the edge of the cliff. And that's not what this is about. So we have continued relationships with our startups, and the measure of success is really for them. So we never want to invest in them in the respect to become a partner, or do we want to support them? So we'll put them in contact with the right people to support them going forward. So I suppose their measure of success is they've had exposure working with a big corporate on a global level. And for example, just to take that one step further, like I said, the startup we worked with weren't the winners. Damn. However, they have got a beautiful relationship now with Bupa, and we've introduced them to partners. So, their technology is in our Bupa Cromwell Hospital in London. We've got it going into Spanish hospitals, Mexican, so it's out there with Bupa, but we've also introduced them to a number of different partners. So if you talk to them, their success is, we've had the exposure and we've now got traction, and our technology is going into a number of private hospitals as well as already established within the NHS, which is amazing. And then from an individual point of view, we track the individuals that are part of the programme. So we have had 52% of people move around out of the over 500 people that have been through the programme so far. And that could be, and we are massively conscious that the traditional career, it doesn't exist in Bupa unless you're in a very formal regulated position. So we really encourage the squiggler career. So that could be that because you've been exposed as part of the programme, that you've met and found out more about another department or another team, and actually you've been given the opportunity to go and work there for 3 months, 6 months. So we actively track those people. We also track their engagement scores as well. So, and we go back, and again, going back to, the whirlwind of a programme of 9 months and then you fall off the edge of a cliff, is we use our alumni to be the next provocateurs for the next wave, and to be the support team, and to be the mentors, and the ones that pop in as and when the squads need them. So again, their journey doesn't stop. And what we have seen is, and again, this is only the 4th year, so we're still quite in our infancy, is that this community is really growing across the business. So, and when we talk to them about what was success for you, it is about being able to give something back. That was a massive piece that came out of the first 2 cohorts, is actually being able to be given the space and time to really understand the challenges within the business, but also be able to give something back, and the opportunity to work with a completely different business, a startup that make decisions instantly, that have no formal support around them, where in a corporate you can pick up the phone and there's going to be someone who can give you the data or help you with marketing. They just don't have that infrastructure. And, as part of their success is being able to create that network and give them that support success, which has been phenomenal.
It's a super robust sort of set of impact measurement there, and I guess one of the things it raises to me is that this kind of thing has got to be measured on multiple levels, because it's got multiple aims, which are at once individual and organizational and societal, and I mean that's tricky, but it sounds like you're doing a lot. I'm going to switch to the kind of politicization issue. I'll ask Miriam if you've got any thoughts on that. How do we manage moving into what's the political sphere without getting kind of enmeshed in a lot of very difficult kind of political battles and having funding cut and these kinds of things?
Yeah, well, as Professor Emeritus Tony Watts has taught us all, is that there are probably no free spaces. Like career guidance is always political, not party political, but practice is always sort of induced with social political ideology. So if we don't intervene, if we say you go do you in the oil industry, you go be you in the fashion industry, enjoy yourself, we are also being political. We are just helping, reproduction of the societal values already present. And if we intervene, if we challenge that position, of course, we are also being political. We're challenging this. Is this a good career? Could there be any problems with this? Perhaps the industry you want to go into, it might change in a short period of time, and also what does it contribute to? What does it contribute to on like a planetary level? But I think these are very difficult questions. And I think we're just at the beginning of moving into this practice, and also researching this practice, like what is actually going on when we have these discussions with our clients. But the thing about, we have this very strong, in career guidance, we have this very strong client-centered focus, Rogerian focus, which is of course very important, but it's not just the client I'm talking about, it's putting human beings in the center, like the needs of human being in the center. That is what has put us into that mess I showed you before with the planetary boundaries. Like there are other living creatures here. But so when we don't intervene, when we don't intervene the individual's choice, going off into the oil industry or conventional farming, we are actually not helping the individual, because the impact the individual will have in his or her career in society, it will come back and destroy their own living conditions. So this is the intricate part of this, and this is why the systemic thinking is really important to introduce into career guidance. Okay. But there's no, I haven't the solution yet. No. So if that's a fast answer.
Good. Okay. Thank you, David. You've raised the diversity issues, and it's been raised again. So in a minute, could you give us any thoughts you have on, like, why is this a problem, and is there anything more we can do about it?
Cool. Can I add just one point to the question that Miriam was answering? I just say focus on, be driven by data, science, facts. Is it a growth area? Green jobs made up 33% of LinkedIn postings last year. Driven by that, remain neutral, but be driven by data. To the point with diversity, I can't answer it myself, but I can give some of my thoughts towards it. I think businesses, organizations, any programs being run all need to have like an EDI principle or EDI at the forefront, because everybody needs to be involved. in this, and unfortunately there are underrepresented groups in the environment sector. I can't say exactly why, but one thing is, some sectors, if there's lack of relatable role models, if I'm coming from a young people's perspective or any perspective, if you can't see people that you can relate to, you might be deterred from that profession or that sector as well. And the other thing is getting access to opportunities. So if, for example, all the opportunities are unpaid internships or volunteering, people who might have caring responsibilities or other things might not be able to take up those opportunities. So it's about opening those doors more. We worked with Groundwork UK, funded by the National Lottery Heritage Fund, for a program called New to Nature, where it was a 12-month placement for young people from underrepresented groups in the nature sector. We had a brilliant person who's now secured a full-time job at our organisation. So it's opening those doors and making sure that things are put in place to overcome any barriers for people trying to get into the sector as well.
Great. Okay. To finish, one sentence from all panel members, one only. What would you want people to go and do tomorrow? So, having listened to this session, having spent the day here today, what's your takeaway that you want people to take away?
So you've all probably got slightly different roles. Just look at your work. How can you integrate sustainability so it's a core part of it? And then your work will then feed on to the stakeholders that you work with, whether it's students, other academic peers. Look at your own work. Is sustainability part of it? If it isn't, how can you integrate into it and it'll have that ripple effect?
Brilliant. Thank you.
One sentence.
Yeah.
I think you should start developing a relationship to nature. If you don't really have one yet, this is a good time for you to start, because by developing this kind of relationship with nature, and also perhaps taking it into your training, using nature as a guidance setting, or it will help your resonance. It will get your resonance going, and many things in this area will be a lot easier for you. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Natalie, final word to you.
Find out what your challenges are, fall in love with them, and be disruptive.
All right.
Very good. Somebody knows what a sentence is.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you to all of the panel, and we will finish there. And yes, and it's coffee now. Thank you.